Hi, everybody. Mark here with Couch to Camino 2026, and we're at day 181. So this video I was actually supposed to upload last week. I've been very busy. We've had a family medical emergency, so I've been running back and forth to Kansas City quite a lot. So I apologize. This video was supposed to come out right after the health video, and I just got distracted and couldn't get done. So I'm going to do this one. And then I've got this week's video on sleep. So that will be dated also 181 days. So today we're going to talk about general safety stuff. Pretty short one. Camino's generally pretty darn safe for the most part. Yeah. So if you have any questions, as always, ask me down below in the comments. If you want to have a more in-depth conversation, you can email me at askmeacaminoquestion@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you. I've got a couple in there I need to answer. I haven't had a chance to just sit down in front of my laptop and give some longer answers. I tend to be very brief on the phone. I need a keyboard to be able to talk for a long time when I'm typing back and forth with somebody. So, okay, so the TLDL on safety for the Camino is, for the most part, it is just as safe as any tourism kind of fun thing you would do in Spain, possibly even more so. And we'll address why kind of down in the ramble. But the first thing you need to know is the emergency number in Spain is 112. It's 911 here in America. In Spain, it's 112. If your phone is working in Spain, that's the emergency number, and they will contact you to the nearest dispatcher. They should be able to find somebody who will help you with language issues, but just remember 112. The biggest things that you need to be aware of are usual tourism things, pickpockets, your phone, valuables, stuff like that. The other thing is you've got the added risk of falls, and we talked about falls in the health part of this, but really most of the major physical problems people are going to have is just from falling because they're not paying attention. The footing's a little bad. So just be aware of your surroundings and really concentrate when you're in a tricky area. The next is don't flash your cash or your valuables. And typically on the Camino, that's going to be electronics. I don't see a lot of expensive jewelry and watches and such when we're on Camino. So if you're carrying a tablet or you're carrying a laptop, your phone, your credit cards, your spare cash, all of that, sorry, there's a fruit fly. Be very circumspect about flashing that out and making it obvious that you have a bunch of cash, you've got spare electronics and such. Kind of keep that hidden a little bit. To that end, don't separate yourself from your valuables. Your passport, your credit cards, any of that stuff that if you did happen to lose it, it would majorly impact your Camino. Keep them on you. I've got a little pouch that I'll show in the ramble that contains a lot of my stuff. When I go to the shower in an albergue, it's a waterproof pouch. I throw it in with my shower stuff and just take it with me. It's just a lot safer. Now, if you're traveling with somebody else or you fall into a group you trust, it's pretty easy to go, hey, I'm going to go take a shower. You keep it on my backpack. And, you're probably okay to leave it there. Just, kind of rely on each other once you gain some trust with them. So basic pickpocket stuff. If you haven't done a whole lot of travel, keeping your wallet in the back pocket is a very easy way to lose your wallet. In crowds, you're jostling around. That's what people are really going for. Keep it in a front pocket. And I know there's a lot of women's clothing that doesn't have pockets, although I notice there's a lot of yoga pants and stuff now that have phone pockets. Considering keeping that stuff on you in a better place. Even if you need to get a underclothes security belt of some sort, just go ahead. If you feel you need to do that, you're going to be traveling solo. Not a bad idea to have. Okay, let's talk about personal safety a little bit. Number one, avoid those falls. Pay attention. keep your footing, make sure you know what you're doing there. Number two, you're going to meet a lot of people, and they're great fun to hang out with. There may be some language barriers. There may be some cultural barriers. It happens. If you decide to go hang out with somebody, go have a drink with somebody, go canoodling, whatever you decide to do, let somebody know. Don't ever just disappear, whether, if you're a group. If you're by yourself, take a selfie with the individual you're going to go have some fun with. Either text it to somebody, text it to yourself, or email it to yourself. That seems a little extreme, but you're in another country, maybe hanging out with somebody from another country. It's a really freaking good idea to have some sort of backup in case something weird happens. Lastly, if you do get into an uncomfortable situation, end the situation immediately. Be loud, be demonstrative, and make everybody around you aware that this is not acceptable. We're done here. And try to get yourself to a public area full of people. That can be in the albergue, out into the common room, or just walk into a dorm and be very loud. Make sure everybody knows. Yeah, it may be a cultural misunderstanding. It could be a language misunderstanding, but it's better to be embarrassed than have something serious happen to you. It really doesn't happen a lot that I'm aware of, but it could happen. Just be prepared for it in case. So, if I didn't scare you too much, that's the TLDL. The Camino is by and large a safe place to be. You're going to have a great time. Most of the weird little things happen kind of around just too much wine and too much fatigue. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool people to meet. So just be careful out there. You're going to have a great time. So that's the TLDL. If this is where you normally stop, we will see you next week. I was going to say, but I'm going to do another video on sleep in probably about 20 minutes. So we'll see you here today. But next week, see ya. Okay, on to the ramble. This week I have been so darn busy. I have not prepared anything for a drink, and I am dehydrated as heck, so I'm going with Gatorade. Yeah, you can find stuff like that in Europe or in Spain, so no big deal. Okay, let's go down through. I feel like we covered the emergency number pretty well. 112. You can save it into your phone if you need to. There is an app that gets talked about on the forums a little bit, and I'm not going to really recommend it because I'm very tech savvy. I've had multiple phones over the years that I've tried to get this stupid app to work. It's a police notification app. It syncs up with your phone, syncs up with your location address. I cannot get a US phone to confirm, authenticate anything on that system. So I'm not willing to use it for myself, so I'm not willing to tell you to use it. So just get used to, 112. That's your emergency number. As we go, as I said earlier in the TLDL, by and large, this is so safe. And the thing that it makes it the Camino safer than a usual tourist thing in Spain or France or wherever is you're part of a community. Pilgrims look out for each other. There's, you'll develop people say a pilgrim family or Camino family. There's Camino radio where kind of people know what's going on with everybody. In 2024, coming out of Zubiri, this is my security pouch, and we'll talk about this in a minute. But this security pouch fell out of my pocket. I had it in my short pocket. It fell out of my pocket, ended up on the trail, and some people had looked inside of it. They saw my passport picture, and there were, for the next 2 weeks, past Pamplona, past Logroño, into Burgos, there were people who knew who I was because I had lost this stupid thing. Now, I got it back. Somebody turned it into the Civil Guardia, which is sort of like a national police force. I believe they're national, but up north, they kind of just take care of the pilgrims. Great bunch of guys, bunch of folks. I went to the Civigardia office in Pamplona, walked in, the officer had it, and I saw that officer multiple times after that. They take care of road crossings to help pilgrims get across the busy roads. And every time I walked by, he would just point at me and go, "Passport? Si, senor, passport." So, yeah, hundreds of people knew who I was. They knew my name. They knew it was hysterical and it was embarrassing as heck, but a lot of fun. While I'm on that, road crossings. The Camino is not a rambling walk through nature preserves and parks. You're on roads. You're going to be crossing some highways, not huge major highways, but you're going to be crossing some very busy roads. And I don't mean one or two times, I mean dozens of times. In busy, congested areas with blind curves, they will very often have the Civil Guardia there Guardia Civil, whichever. They'll be there to help control traffic and crossings. Be super aware of those crossings. People do get hit and get killed. I won't say every year, but every couple of years. And even the locals, when they're out running or biking or hiking on the Camino Trail, when they're using them in their daily life, there's lots of accidents. So just be aware of it. Be careful. Maybe pop your earbuds out. Frankly, I think you should wear one earbud, not two, so you can hear what's going on. Pop it out, look both ways again, and then cross. So watch your road crossings. Strangely enough, the other place people get injured is getting out of bunk beds. If you're not used to climbing in and out of the top bunk of a bunk bed, and you have incredibly sore feet, and you're climbing into a steel runged IKEA bunk bed, and the rungs are like the thickness of my thumb, man, those things hurt, and people slip and take a tumble all the time. You'll hear it in the middle of the night. So just watch your footings. Moving on, I have just something titled here called Misadventure. So be aware of your surroundings. As you're walking through the cities, the towns, the villages, keep aware, circle, make sure you're not going to be followed. Not saying it's real common. Just be aware of what's going on around you. Don't wander into the sketchy neighborhoods. Although I can think of at least two places that I've done laundry that there was no other laundry open. So I went into some pretty questionable neighborhoods to wash my undies, but whatever. Travel in groups. If you're going to go do laundry and it's the only laundromat that's open is, I don't know, half a mile across to Ponferrada or La Granja or whatever, see if there's a bunch of other pilgrims that want to go and say, hey, I'm going to get some snackos. I'm going to go do laundry. Do you want to come with? Travel in a group. It's a little bit safer. Again, do not flash your cash. Do not flash your valuables. When you get money out of the ATM, get just enough for a few days. There's going to be ATMs all along the way. I won't say every day, but at least every other day, you should have a chance to hit an ATM and get a little bit more cash. Yeah, you're paying a little international transaction fee and your ATM fee, but it's just worth it not to have a whole bunch of cash that if you lose it or it gets taken from you, it's kind of puts a big dent in your Camino. Just avoid that. It's not worth it. When you get when you use the ATM, and this is all stuff we'll talk about when I'm talking later in the spring-ish, talking about banking. Just be aware with your PIN number, kind of shield it, make sure people can't see your PIN number. Put your cash immediately into your pocket. Deal with sorting that out later when you're not in a public place. Just be careful with that stuff. Your laptops, your tablets, your high-end phones and all that, don't flash them. I can see the charm of sitting in a cafe with your laptop or your tablet typing away and having fun. It does make you a little bit of a target. And in the larger cities, now I have not heard of this in years, but it used to be that, like, if you had a little tablet sitting on the table of a cafe, street side, there'd be kids in mopeds or a motorcycle that would ride up, and there'd be a kid driving and a kid riding, and the kid riding passenger behind would just reach out and grab your laptop or your tablet. So just be aware of that stuff. If you need to go in to use the restroom or get something from the bar, don't leave your stuff out there unattended. Take it with you. Put it in your pack. Take it with you back inside. Your backpacks and such, for the most part, nobody wants your backpack. They want what might be in your backpack, but anymore, especially because smartphones are so much more adaptable. Nah, that's not the word. Basically, everything can be done on your phone. You really don't need a tablet. You don't need a laptop unless you're doing work stuff. The theft of backpacks to try to get that stuff has really gone down because everybody just assumes your phone is in your pocket. Yeah, there's a chance your passport or your credit cards are going to be in your backpack, but both of those are so easily dealt with because of the electronic systems backing the passport system up and the credit card system up that, yeah, they're a little bit of a target, but they're really hard to abuse anymore. So I will, on occasion, set my backpack outside and go into a bar and just kind of keep an eye on it if I'm traveling alone. Keep in mind, there are a lot of bars and restaurants that will have a sign by the door that says no backpacks. Your backpack is a grungy, filthy, nasty thing. At some point in the Camino, nobody wants that inside their bar or their restaurant. So just leave it outside, pile it up with a bunch of other backpacks. Be aware, keep an eye on stuff. If it's nice out and there's a bunch of backpacks outside, I'll go in, get my coffee or my Diet Coke or whatever, and I'll just go outside and just kind of hang out and enjoy the sun and keep an eye on people's stuff. And pilgrims will kind of help each other out like that. And if you walk up solo and there's some pilgrims outside, take off your backpack and then just say, hey, can you watch this? And if they give you a thumbs up, just go ahead and maybe return that favor later. When you're digging through your backpack in a crowded albergue, don't be real obvious about where you may be keeping any of your valuables, your spare cash. If you're keeping an extra locked down credit card in your backpack, just, don't be real demonstrative about where you're saving that stuff. Yeah, hide it in there. Little bit of a security will help. Personal stuff, be careful when you're out drinking. I had a director at Sprint. I worked at Sprint as I started out as a security guard, ended up as a security manager with a couple hundred guys working for me. And my director at the time often told our younger employees when we have business outings and stuff that no good life decision ever happens after 3 beers or 1 o'clock in the morning. It's the same on the Camino. Just be careful. You're going to meet some amazing folks. Be careful about what you're doing. Make sure you know the people's name, get some pictures, make sure the people around you may be traveling with or some new friends, make sure, they know you're going to go spend some time with somebody. Just back up the info, send yourself a picture or a selfie if you need to, get that selfie on your phone, get it into the cloud, email it to yourself, whatever. It seems overly paranoid, but it takes 30 seconds to make sure that things are just a little bit safer. It's not that big of a deal. Let me go down. I'm that last bit, I'm making it sound like there's this giant hookup culture and it's really dangerous. It's not. Pilgrims tend to be tired, sweaty, and grumpy, and you're going to meet a lot of great people. Just be careful. Okay, let's see. We kind of went through all of the valuable stuff. How to take care of your stuff. So when I first started traveling to Europe, I carried a money belt. I carried one of the underclothes security pouches. I don't use either of those anymore. Banking is so easy to get cash now that it's just not that big a deal to draw off small amounts. If you look around, you can find banks that actually will refund you any of your ATM fees and foreign transaction fees. We're lucky enough that our bank that we've been doing business with for 30-something years takes care of that for us, makes it very easy to travel. Just look around online. It may be worth getting a just a online account that you can move some money to save you that little bit of cash and such, or the charges on the international transaction fee and the ATM fee. It can add up. You know, it can be a beer or two or a glass of wine or two every time you take money out worth of fees. So getting a bank that'll kind of slide that back in your pocket is not the worst thing in the world. I stopped using a money belt because of that. I stopped using an underclothes security pouch kangaroo thing because I'm one of those guys that I can sweat in a deep freeze in the middle of winter. And those things get so sweaty and nasty. I hate dealing with them. And I would feel bad. My first Camino, I used one. It was like, okay, I got to pay for my albergue. Here's my dripping wet €20 bill. So I don't use them anymore. I'll show you what I use. And yes, I lost the darn thing. We'll talk about that. Calm down. I hear you. So this is a waterproof zip pouch. This comes from a company called Z-Packs, which, yes, I know it's a antibiotic treatment, but Z-Packs, they're great. It's ultralight. It weighs empty. It weighs almost nothing. It's got a waterproof zipper. It has change in it. I didn't realize that. Nice little guy, crinkly, works really well. It is large enough to carry your Camino credential. I think this is my one from 2022. One of my ones from 22. It's large enough that credential will fit inside and keep it safe from sweat and from rain. The other thing I do is sometimes I keep my passport in that pouch. Sometimes I don't. It depends on if I'm traveling with other people. If I'm traveling with other people, I may or may not keep my actual passport on my person. I may keep it buried in a security area of my backpack because I'm with other people and we can watch each other's stuff. But regardless of whether I have my real passport in this or not, what I always carry is a color copy of my passport, laminated, full size. So when I get to an albergue, I don't have to tear out my real passport and give it to the people. That may not sound like a big deal, but sometimes if you're getting into a really big albergue, it's 4 o'clock. There's tons of people there. There may be 12, 15 passports sitting on the countertop. People are coming and going. I don't like my passport out there. Nobody's going to do anything with this. It has all the information. They just take this, look at the stuff, enter in the stuff for their record keeping. The only time this hasn't worked is there's a few albergues that are using a new automated system that basically runs on an iPad where they scan your passport and it just automatically inputs all that stuff in there. This is too shiny. It doesn't work for that. It's only happened to me in the last 3 Caminos twice, so I've had to get out my real passport. But this is great. This is also, if something happens to your other passport, it's just a good backup when you're dealing with the consul or whatever. And we're going to talk about passports at some point. So anyway, that. So where do I carry this? Coming out of Zubiri, I just threw it into my shorts pocket, which I thought I had zipped up. All of my clothes, I have zip pockets on my shorts, my pants. Everything has zippers. I shop on Amazon for whatever random Chinese brand has the most zippers and are lightweight and easy to dry, and I get those. And we'll talk about those in 2 or 3 weeks when we're talking about gear and clothing. What I usually do is when I'm hiking, when I'm out around town, I'll have a t-shirt on and then I have a button-down travel shirt over it. And the button-down shirt has zip inner pockets here and here. So I can unzip. They're plenty big enough. I can have this in. I zip it up. It's easy to check that it's there. It's just a little safer and easier because nobody's going to get this from you in the normal course of the day. It's right here. As far as my cards and money, man, I have a lot of loose change. I didn't realize I brought so much back last time. I don't carry a wallet when I go on Camino. I do if I'm just doing tourist stuff in Europe. I will carry a wallet. If you look on Amazon, you can get specifically travel wallets or front pocket wallets. They're actually cut to match a front pocket. What I use is a little waterproof zipper pouch from Z-Packs. It's the smallest one they make. These little guys, it's big enough to take a little bit of cash, throw in there. I can fit a credit card or my debit card in there. Zips up, keeps everything watertight, keeps everything from me sweating on it. I can throw it in my front pocket. I usually keep a little change in it because these things are so light. They weigh almost nothing, like a couple of grams at most. Keep a little change, or just when you're walking out of a staya. Sorry about that. My camera responds to a hand signal, so the stupid thing turns off. What I was saying is, as you're traveling outside of a staya, like right outside of a staya, just before you get to the wine fountain, there's a wine fountain. There's a blacksmith that sells all sorts of stuff, and he makes these little hand-forged concha shells. They're like €1, but they make a great weight. I use them to add a little substance to this. I use them as zipper pulls on my backpacks. They're just kind of fun. But so between these two little guys, these are almost perfect for my needs. One's the security pouch, keeps everything dry. This is so much easier than messing with a wallet with a bunch of stuff. It did it again. It's driving me crazy. And no, I can't find the settings to turn the hand gestures off. It's part of the motion tracking thing. So anyway, those are that. Again, if you have, keep the things that might end your Camino, keep them with you. These things I can easily take to the shower room with me, take them to the bathroom with me, so I'm not leaving them out. If you choose to leave things in your backpack, just have somebody keep an eye on them, or keep an eye on your backpack. I get a little lazy about it sometimes. Over the years, I've gotten less and less paranoid about it, which means I'm probably going to get mugged this next Camino. So just be aware. Man, just in general, little tiny common sense things, just like you would do if you're being an international tourist anywhere else. Just be aware of your surroundings. Don't flash a bunch of cash. Watch your phone. Have a great time. There's the Camino is one of the few places that I travel internationally that I'm just comfortable almost all the time. I never really worry about that much. Granted, I've done it enough that I'm kind of used to it, but I think you're gonna get comfortable in the first few days and realize I'm amongst friends. There's not a giant criminal or conspiracy out to steal my sweaty ass backpack and sell it on the international backpack market. There's something I left out of here. I'm going to cover it real quick. Most theft that happens in albergues is mistaken identity. Your hiking poles, your boots, even your backpack, because there are some albergues you can't keep your backpack in the room. They want you to keep it in a locker outside or in a backpack room because your backpack stinks and it's dirty. Ain't nobody want that in the room with them when they're trying to sleep. Same goes with your boots. For my hiking poles, now I carry an off-brand hiking pole, but I still mark them. If you've got Leckies, Black Diamonds, Four Claws, any of the big manufacturers, everybody's hiking poles look alike, and nobody stole your hiking poles because they're going to sell them on the international hiking pole market. I mark mine with a couple of strips of orange electrical tape, just to visually make it very flashy that, oh, okay, these are mine. If you go into a boot room, and I'm thinking of like the big one on day 1 or 2, depending on how far you walk in Roncesvalles, you go into that boot room, there could be 300 to 400 sets of boots in there. Okay, maybe not, maybe 200. They're between Merrill. Um, I'm kind of blanking on all the big boot manufacturers. There's so many boots and shoes that look alike, and people sometimes will grab the wrong pair of boots and shoes, and they're not doing it because they love your boots or their shoes. They thought they were theirs, and then things get weird. I usually swap out my boot laces or shoelaces for orange laces because they're just so visible. And yes, I wear a lot of orange. I'm doing it for these videos just because it's visually cohesive. A lot of my outdoor stuff is orange because I used to, when I lived up in the city 5 years ago, the park I hiked at and I ran at, we shared the groomed trails with mountain bikers. I got hit by mountain bikers so many freaking times because they're going too fast. They were taking blind curves, and I would get clipped in the elbow. I'd be on the hard right side trying to stay out of their way, but there were copperheads everywhere, so sometimes I had to walk a little bit in. Can't tell you how many times my left elbow got clipped by a mountain bike handle or a mirror. Just drove me crazy. So I tend to wear a lot of orange. And I mark my Camino stuff with orange. My backpack has a orange ribbon on it. So it's obviously mine. Just something that helps. Again, if you've seen the movie The Way, yeah, there's not people stealing your backpack because they really need your backpack. Sometimes if you're using a backpack transfer service, your backpack may come up missing. We saw it happen in 2018 in Arecibo, and it was kind of funny. We're sitting in the bar of the albergue we were staying at, and Clyde and I were trying to get. Everybody's like, "Okay, you lost your backpack. Okay, what size are you? Okay, I've got a T-shirt I can give you. He's got a pair of pants that'll fit you. That guy has some socks. Blah blah blah." And the bartender's on the phone, and finally he's like, "Okay, I called all the albergues. We found your pack. It'll be here in about 5 minutes, so they'll take care of it." The backpack services, it happens. You're gonna find your backpack if it happens through. People don't steal backpacks through the transfer services, so they're pretty safe and easy to use. So anyway, health and safety. That's it for the last couple of weeks. I will cover banking and a few other things, safety as we go, as we get closer, and we talk specifically about banks and such. And it won't be a financial advice, YouTube. So, yeah, these are all going to be intertwined. As you know, I tend to jump back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I got a call coming in, but I'm going to ignore it. I'm almost done here. Favorite thing this week, or favorite place this week. So I'm going to jump over to Lyon again, up near the cathedral on one of the side streets. It's about 2 blocks down or so. There is what's known as the American Store, and I'll put a picture up of the sign right here. It's Captain America's shield. The America Store has everything American for the people in Lyon who and the tourists who need their American stuff. You know, in like barbecue sauce, hot sauces, just American food, Pop-Tarts, all sorts of fun stuff. Crazily, they have potato chips and Pringle flavors in the American Store that I have never seen in my life. It was also the first place that, when we were there in 2022, we saw Tex-Mex flavored Doritos for the first time, which, so good. And I think you can get them here now. So yeah, their selection of American stuff is a lot of stuff we don't have in America, but man, so much fun. So if you get a chance, stop in. They're friendly folks. You'll have a good time. That's about it for the safety. I'm going to shut this down, return a phone call, and then we will talk about sleep. So I will see you in just a few minutes. Bye.